it is final box and the Foxy Lady. I put it over there so it's easier to spot us here. And we are doing a quick edit of the second draft of Reflections on a First Trimester. Not just the first trimester, a first trimester. Confirmed. Mm-hmm. I do wonder, I like that title. It's very operational. Very like direct. This is what it is. I wonder if there's something more abstract. I wonder if we could push the title to a more, thematic direction would be what I'm thinking. Is like, hey, you do have a theme in here. But if it's not the same as the last, it's kind of like that love for your child. Unborn though, she, it may be.
Don't know yet.
A Z may be.
I'm hoping for girl.
Well, it's going to be a guy then.
Tell me about it.
Oh, great. Final boss is online.
I hate that guy.
He's the worst. Yeah, so I would try to lean toward that thematic. Like, that theme, and make your title more thematic. I'm going to put a little note up here. Title. Boy, I haven't met.
Oh, girl.
It's going to be a boy, confirmed. We're going to bet money on this.
How
much you want to bet? Dinner.
$5.
Okay, $5. It's a boy.
It's a girl.
A deal. It's a coin
Probably
toss.
it's going to be a boy, knowing my luck. Surrounded by boys.
No.
Oh.
No.
All right, carry on.
I woke up and tiptoed to the den, and gingerly, I woke up to the den. Okay, I really like this. We're starting with the scene. We're starting in scene, which is really nice. Kuja. Yeah, so like we're immediately with you, which is really the helpful aspect of starting with the scene. And gingerly took the plastic wrapped test out of the box at stash. She's making fun of my accent and my dyslexia. That hurts. I slipped into the bathroom and opened it. It seems like a misplaced modifier. It sounds like you're opening the bathroom.
The plastic, yeah.
And maybe it's like tore open I slipped in the bathroom and opened the bathroom to the great world beyond all bathrooms, where toilets abound and farts are allowed.
Like Bioshock.
Spoilers.
You've seen
Just
it.
Just kidding. Yes, like Bioshock.
This guy.
Uh-oh. So, okay, we're having kind of a funny... I slipped into the bathroom and tore open the wrapping, followed the instructions, and set the chest strip on the counter. So we have kind of like a list that's not broken up properly, right? So this probably could be a comma if you wanted to do a standard style. So there's a stylistic choice you have in lists. And lists are one of the most powerful devices in prose. You can have this kind of waterfall effect, this kind of tumble of language if you take out all the ands. So there's a few options. So the standard option, so this is kind of this weird blend of kind of two lists combined and smacked together. So I don't think this is kind of driving the effect you're looking for. But if you kind of want this, if you want a more dizzied feel, if you want the normal feel, take away this and put in a comma. I slipped into the bathroom, tore open the wrapping, followed the instructions, and set the test strip on the counter. Clean, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the list. If you want something that's more frenetic, you would leave that and there, and you would have every comma be an and. Oh my gosh, of course it goes into the deleted fill. Delete, and follow the instructions, and set the test strip. So then that would be more frenetic. I slipped into the bathroom and tore open the wrapping and followed the instructions and set the test strip on the counter. Like whenever if that's like called... The ands, yeah, exactly. So most people choose, unless there's a reason. This is more instructive, I guess. The other option, because we're on stream, so I feel like this could hopefully benefit anybody who's using a list. The other option, so that slows it down whenever you have, it's called polysyndeton, when you have a lot of ands or a lot of conjunctions where you don't need them. And the other option is called asyndeton, which is the complete opposite, which is no ands. So I will just undo all this. Yes. And then you would just do commas. That should be a comma anyways. And then this one would also be removed. And that would be asyndeton. I stepped into the bathroom, tore open the wrapping, followed the instructions, set the test strip on the counter.
I think I'll leave it
No, exactly. Okay. So I do think, so that's, yes, that's a different effect. I agree with you.
Right.
Yes, instructive.
Sorry.
But no, yeah, so like the goal with asyndeton is extremely fast, slams you into the end. But this one, I think normal syntax is ideal, but that's a tool worth adding to your tool belt, especially, and that's why poor Fox, this is why I'm pausing more to talk about these devices when I talk about nonfiction versus fiction, because nonfiction, you do have to usually leverage, because life is generally boring. Life, at least my life is, despite the weird, concoctions of drama that I cook up in my brain. But generally, like, my actual events in my life are boring. So devices, these literary devices that can add the sense of frenetic energy or can make it go real fast, those types of tools can help make your nonfiction come to life and make something that might be otherwise a less exciting event or scene become more interesting. All right. Sorry, Fox.
Okay.
We put up with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Puts up with it and she's sleepy. To pass the time and steady the balloon of hope rising in my chest, I got the glass of water from the kitchen. Yeah, I washed the mug. I wonder... Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is this is going to go back to, like, how do you make this pop, right? Because this is a way of describing that event. Obviously, it's your style, but it's a structured, clean, and precise way of describing that event. One thing I would think about is, again, pushing on the sentence structure. So, like, what's a way that you can describe this exact same sequence in a way that pops? And that's what you need in nonfiction usually. So, like, unable to wait in the bathroom. I sprinted. That's, like, not perfect, obviously, but, like, so one, I loved the image Balloon of Hope, so obviously I kept that. But yeah, again, my heart pounded. Unable to wait for the test in the bathroom, I sprinted to the kitchen, hoping to steady the Balloon of Hope rising in my chest. So again, that's my style, so that might not be what you're looking to accomplish. But I think that the thing that might be a really great challenge for you to wrestle with is, how do I make the prose pop? How do I choose the best verb? So, like, for example, I got a glass of water is not, scramble for a glass of water, Scrambled, that's fine. That's a bad example, but, like, again, like, the verb got is a really plain verb. So the way that you sort of make your writing pop is look at the noun, the base clause, the noun and verb combination in that sentence, and really just push yourself to say, okay, other ways.
I think what she's trying to convey, knowing her, is that it was like a very calm moment before everything changed. That it wasn't this scramble necessarily, that it was like until that moment when she saw she was pregnant, she just was, doing the test and everything was normal, maybe a little bit of hope, but mostly just kind of like, okay, I'll go get some water and we'll see. And I'm knowing you, that I'm thinking that that's probably what it was. Like, it was this quiet moment of waiting and then seeing this life-changing news.
Well, I'll have to use that KX Rain. I usually use art, but maybe it's when I go to the art mode. Sometimes it's on actually. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, I just do anything that says art in the title is where my stream goes. But yes, feel free to let me know if there is a magical there is a writing channel, which would be so exciting. Because I've been itching for a channel all to writers, but I haven't found one yet in the creative. Right, I think they broke up creative, and now it's like everything. Anyways.
But yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
I think that's a very good observation. So maybe it looks different.
It's supposed to be a little bit like dull because I was like everything was normal. Everything's normal. You washed a mug, you got a glass of water, wiped down the kitchen, and then you go back and your life's changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge then is the balloon of hope, because the balloon of hope, that image, awesome though it is, evokes this, at least for me as a reader, evokes a sense of like rising excitement, this momentary thrill. But yeah, that might be.
I think we had told her in the last edit to like give us her feelings about it. But yeah.
I washed a mug, dried it, then wiped 2 portions of the kitchen counters at 2 minutes.
I would either keep it completely simple, Chrissy, or I would make it pop more.
How small writing is. I guess that's part of the territory. Yep. We writers are fighting an uphill battle, KX Ring, but welcome. And we're editing nonfiction and then a short story, a novella. So let me know if you have any questions. Actually, must be doing creative and writing. Yep, that's right. I think that's what it was. I don't know anymore with Twitch. I know, none of us do. This is all I could find. Anyways, but yeah, let me know. I don't normally edit nonfiction live. So ask your nonfiction questions because I feel like this might be a fun opportunity. Anyways, the corners of and I'll be talking more about grammar and structure, sentence structure here than I normally do. The corners of my tips tugged upward. The balloon of did I say hips?
You said tips.
Whoops. Damn you, Freud.
Yeah.
The corners of my lips tugged upward. I think it was the T and the L there. My frosted tips, the hairdo.
These tips.
That would be if it was.
The balloon in your chest expanded.
The balloons in my chest expanded. The balloons. No, I'm never going to be able to read that in a serious face.
I know.
The balloons of my chest expanded.
The balloons in my chest.
Sorry. Anyways, wow, that got weird.
Yep.
All right, corners of my lips tugged upward, and the balloon in my chest expanded. Wait, okay, so we have that again, don't we?
That's it.
It's a callback. The balloon of hope.
Rising in the chest, and then it expands.
And that balloon. Before calling back, okay, so this is tricky, and this might be a style preference. Before calling back an image, I would develop it more, right? So I would develop, so if you're going to call back the balloon image, which I think is a great idea, there's some in I usually have a cup, but yeah. But if you're going to, you mind grabbing me a Diet Caffeine-free Pepsi? Sure. It'd be fantastic. But yeah, if you're going to call back an image, make sure it's really well developed. So an example might be, steady the, red balloon of hope rising, even if it's just giving it a color. So then when we're down here and the, red balloon, and we already have in my chest, because then you're having to recap it. So again, I'm going to bold this because I think this is a thing. Giving it more detailing, even if it's slight detailing, can be really impactful, because then you can take that small detail that you developed earlier and use it later. And I always read, because I'm OCD, caffeine free and no caffeine.
What kind of sadistic people would write caffeine free and then put caffeine in it?
I don't know. People I don't trust. The people from Pepsi. I'm studying that in class. Yeah, I think it was just creative. You put writing tag. Yeah, that must be right. That was back when they had tags, but they've sadly deprecated tags, which I liked. But, it is what it is. I've learned to accept our riderly lot in life. Of course, my list when the red balloon expanded, I stopped it. So we know it's metaphor, so I would... What does this mean, though? What does this mean? I stopped it. You know... You know, that's like a silly example, but like I kind of... Those... Oh yeah, so there's probably two notes. One is if you're going to reuse an image, give it some small identifying adjectives that can help us later on remember with a few words. Because down here you have the balloon in my chest. Again, that's a really long chunk, whereas the red balloon, you know, is a little bit more efficient. And I mistyped that. No. Red balloon. Expanded. Before it could burst in full-blown excitement, I took a slow breath and sat down on the bathroom floor. It was very, very early. Both in that it was 5:30 in the morning, and because I knew a positive person did not guarantee a baby. So rather than run squealing back to the bedroom and explode the news onto my sleeping husband, I went to my computer. My first search, a percentage of carries. My top results are 10 to 20%, high enough to keep my excitement in check. Still, I felt a small thrill. Wonder if I know I usually say sensations are good, but I feel like in that, I feel like you're doing such a great job of developing the scene. I feel like you've done a great job developing the scene in this paragraph. So you know, you probably can do a little bit of telling versus showing, because there's, you know, it'll help it move faster. So that's one of those times where it is okay to tell versus show. Don't you have to give IRL? How do you get better at metaphors? I suck at those. Simile is easy. I think this is a great example of the metaphor, which is just having an image as part of the sentence, KX, which is... similes are great. I feel like those are really effective, and they probably should be the most used. Metaphors can be confusing because they are not these identifiers. There's not identifiers that are clearly delineating them from the reality of the story. So I think this one's effective because it's used to describe the feeling of an emotion. So emotion is really hard to concretely describe. So one of the reasons metaphor is commonly used to articulate emotion, like this, the balloon in my chest, the balloon of hope in my chest. That's a fantastic, I think, use of metaphor, because it gives us that kind of swelling feeling of excitement, but it's not just the bland, like, I felt really excited, but I stopped. So I think that's usually where you want to think about metaphor first. Like, obviously, there are a lot of other areas to go.
He's asking which sentence.
Oh,
red balloon of hope.
It's this guy here. The one I'm highlighting. Sorry about that. I should bring this over here so I can actually see chat. Versus ignore it cruelly. There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Over touch.
But yeah. I felt a single... I felt a small thrill. There's a good chance that in less than a year, I would be a mom. I like this closing sentence, but it feels very similar to the first paragraph's closing sentence, which is a state of identity, changing identity. This... I feel like this one's stronger. So maybe perhaps end P1 by cutting the last sentence. Because I think that's the least effective out of the two, is this one. Because this is saying the same thing twice. Two blue lines, faint but definitely there, that says I'm pregnant. Mm-hmm. And then it said again, I was pregnant. So I think this might be the cut that we would make to make those, make that development, your paragraph development more varied. Fox is like, I'm sleepy.
I know, sorry. I'm like, it's nice. I want to read through it though.
Okay.
She just wanted she doesn't even need like a super in-depth.
Well, she's getting a super in-depth one.
Then I don't feel bad about being sleepy.
Okay. A million more questions flooded into my mind. First, coffee. Was I allowed to have caffeine? Already itching for a cup. For my first cup. I've been in the business of like shaving words off my novel to try to make it as short as possible, so that might be nitpicky, but it's a way to cut the word count down. And any time you can make your piece, your story, your novel shorter by slight tweaks that don't make a big difference, usually a good choice. I typed the question. So again, I Googled. I Googled it and scanned the results. Because we can use that nomenclature. I typed the first question in the search bar, a little bit more verbose. So again, those little tweaks can make every word count more. Essentially metaphors, instead of using a particular phrase for emotion, I guess to simplify it. Yeah, that's a way of thinking about it, KX. I think of it as replacing what I would write with something relatable to the idea of what it conveys. Not sure how to word it. That's right. Mm-hmm. Like what you said, instead of saying the feeling of your chest, you switched to the feeling of a balloon, like the idea of switching. Yeah, that's right, KX. I think that's a good way of thinking about it, which is taking something that's very hard to describe in just plain words alone and using an image to illustrate it.
Something that already lacks concreteness.
Yes, especially there. And there's situations in the stories, like if they're doing some complicated maneuver, you could try to say like, or this is a very common one. This is a simile, but it's the same device where it's like, in Dresden Files, where he'll be doing a very difficult piece of magic and he'll be saying, oh, well, it's really hard, even though it's simple, just like lifting an engine block out of a car. It's simple, you just lift the engine block out, but it's very difficult. So that's like a way of conveying what the character is experiencing. That's also emotionally. He's using simile there, but it's the same exact device, which is trying to switch out a relatable image into something that maybe that most readers won't grasp.
Yeah. No, metaphors they're much more, I think they're more effective than similes. But yeah, they're trickier.
Yeah, and you usually, I don't think that, I should study this and look at it, but I do wonder, and maybe it's something you could even do and tell us, is just like go through a book that you're reading maybe and highlight all the metaphors and highlight all the similes a different color and see how many you come up with of each. Mm-hmm. Or maybe even just a chapter. And that might be a really helpful tool to kind of say, okay, because I think, at least in my writing, I use similes much more often because metaphor can sometimes blur what's going on unless it's really well developed, like the one here. Mm-hmm. I once normally drink half a pot. Dang, Chrissy. You dial down your coffee and say,
3 cups.
Half a pot of coffee?
It's like 3 cups. It's nothing.
3 cups?
Mm-hmm.
It's half a pot?
Yeah. Depends on the pot, I guess.
Yeah, my pot's like 12.
But each cup is like each actual cup is like 2 cups.
Yeah, I don't usually drink that one. Like 1/4 pot.
I'm gonna keep it coming.
It's 1/8 of a pot, please. I Winston normally drank half a pot each morning. I read on clicking through mommy forums, research papers, and medical journals. The accepted recommendations seem to be drinking about 200 milligrams of caffeine a day. Paltry 12 ounces was safe. See, if she's calling 12 ounces of coffee, yeah, you have a problem. This probably was for the best.
That's good. She's bringing her opinion and personality.
And she's being honest, and that's very real. That helps me, reader, understand Chrissy as well as what Chrissy's trying to say. So I think this is a great...
Well done.
Yeah. And that's the goal of nonfiction, is to develop yourself as the character as well as the idea. Mm-hmm. Very difficult. One of the reasons I avoid it. in myself, in my writing, because I have to. It's easier to tell a make-believe story.
She said she'd originally updated this, but she's not sure if she needs it.
I brewed the coffee and drank a single mugful. Let's just see, absorbed along with too little caffeine. The realization, and absorbed the realization. This was a tip of the parental sacrifice iceberg. Non-pasteurized dairy, really sushi. Yeah, this is actually, you're right. I think this was a good cut. Yeah, good cut.
I think you don't need that at the beginning then.
Yeah. You usually feel like maybe I'll cut it, like because I'm the same way as a writer, and every time you're just like maybe I'll cut it, maybe it's not necessary, but I like it. Ugh. Whenever you have that emotion, cut it.
I don't think she needs a button at the
nice.
beginning, right?
I think you're right. I mean, I trust your judgment.
Oh, well, you can read it. Either way.
The days and weeks went by. Yeah, the days and weeks went by. Yeah, you're right.
I was saying as the days and weeks went by.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking she doesn't need a butt.
Indeed. Oh, gracious. What'd you do? Made a terrible mistake. As the days and weeks went by, limited caffeine was the last thing in my mind. The term
became the last thing?
Yeah, became. I think that's a good edit. I would think of something more, because I agree with Fox. This needs to be a sort of process. As the weeks, I think this is, we don't need days. As the weeks went by. Again, just cutting fluff. As weeks went by, maybe make this a little bit more ironic, you know. I soon made the, you know, and this is that if the craziness would take the premium in my mornings.
I've been feeling weirdly nauseous recently, Chrissy, so I relate to you.
Right.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, I think I just ate before I worked out, and then I was like, oh.
Ooh. 3 weeks after the positive pregnancy. You know what'll help perk Fox up? Tobacco. Is it too hot or something?
No, I'm just not used to it. I'm a woos.
You're a woos. 3 weeks after the positive pregnancy test, I was daunted by the idea of a short walk and spent most of my free time watching TV or sleeping. Great. One thing to think about is, remember, Tower of Abstraction. We talked about it a little bit last time, which is like the more concrete something is, the easier or the more consistent the image and the experience you're delivering to the reader will be. So, Danielle, what do you watch when you're watching TV?
I watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I watch Survivor Man. People on chat, what do you guys watch when you're watching TV? Again, this is one of those things where even though it feels really concrete, and as a writer, you know, I think you're doing a great job. You're getting further down, but remember, watching TV is not as concrete as
So
spent my freaking watching.
and put Downton Abbey. That's what she watched. It's my best friend. Of course I know.
Yeah.
You don't pay attention.
Uh-oh, I've been behind. I always hate to have my, that doesn't tell me
talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about metaphors, didn't we?
Yeah. Did we miss it?
Or did I miss a phrase in the story? Anyways. Yes, in our edits, we usually focus primarily on the author's work. Sadly, chat is secondary.
Falls to the wayside a bit.
Indeed. As I stick at a permanent position on the couch, my husband readily adopted his new role as remote fetcher, water glass refiller, and back rubber. Man. Keeper alert. I'd be like, hey, why don't you get your own damn coffee?
Yeah, I know.
Food lost its appeal, but every hour my stomach demanded eat something quick. In the same breath, it groaned that my last meal was a terrible mistake. Yeah, again, so to your question, this is another metaphor here, which is using that's personification. So it's another imagery device, which is stomach can't really groan like a human. Yeah. So another device for you. 667, how's it going?
Howdy.
Welcome. We're doing some nonfiction edit, and then we're diving into a novella after. I think Fox will go to bed after this edit, though.
Yes.
Tips to the grocery store became a trial and an adventure. So again, great paragraph. I think this establishes another big moment. So, in paragraph. Notice me too.
I noticed you.
We have. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? My car starter died, so it's at a hotel parking lot at the moment. Yikes. 667, that's brutal. Is it just too cold?
Dude, kick the car.
Always works. Confirmed. Trials to the grocery store became a trial and an adventure as I searched for items to appease my capricious stomach. I blanched at my usual favorites, meat, vegetables, almost anything nutritional value. There it is. Welcome back
to carbs.
Let's call a spade here. I wonder, because so as someone who understands paleo and sort of, I wonder if there's any guilt or emotion here. What was your emotion? Because this is a big change. Someone paleo breaking their diet, breaking something. Were you guiltily or you were indulgently eating things? What was the emotion here? Because right now these are facts, and I think the thing with nonfiction is to get us to the emotion. Don't want just facts. How did this make you the character? Yeah. I learned to stop buying things in large quantities. The chocolate cake that promised gastronomical bliss one day set my stomach churning the next. My husband's bafflement grew as our refrigerator was full of half-eaten items: hot dogs, kidney beans, sauerkraut.
Well, you've always loved sauerkraut. Don't lie.
Yeah. Prior to pregnancy, I prided myself on eating well, and I thought I'd continue to meet all my nutritional needs through real food throughout pregnancy. Yes, okay, so this is kind of...
Still needs some, it was horrible, or
yeah,
imagine,
this is still, you're right.
How's it ever gonna come back from this, or something like that? Whatever.
Oh, this
is my baby gonna die of lack of nutrition? That might be a little aggressive.
This might be one of those unnecessary ones, though.
Because you already kind of talk about.
Because we kind of get it.
Nutritional value.
So I would honestly say that might be an option. That's a cruel option. But your goal is to shrink this as much as possible. That's your writer, because it's getting there. 4 single-spaced pages. That is a 12 to 15-minute medium article.
I see a Karen Diced on there somewhere.
What?
Scroll down. Oh yeah, Karen Diced. That's our mom.
Aww. Shared with your mom. That's cute.
She's a character.
Oh yeah.
We love Karen.
But she corrected the. Oh yeah, it's her.
It's her.
Or Z. Z's arms. I'm just kidding. I actually lean, as maybe it's not right because it doesn't sound like it's a different style choice. I lean toward it's.
Yeah, me too.
For ungendered, but again, there is some sensitivity around. If it's a person, his, her is also okay. Or, just guess at the sex, and by the time you publish it, you'll find out you'll be 50% right. It's going to be a guy. I voted, so.
Girl all the way.
Sometimes I worried when one day I looked in the mirror, my ghostly pallor alerted to me to my lack of iron in my diet. So say I don't know the mirror. Okay, so then when I got a hot shot afterwards, naturally not before, I wonder whether high temperatures might be dangerous. The internet rarely provided reassuring information. I understand. Yeah, oof, it's depressing. I tried to comply with all the health pregnancy, adding iron supplement to my prenatal vitamin, cutting the length and temperature of my showers. Sometimes I push myself to take walks, especially on low energy days. More fruits and veggies into my diet. Over that one shower or those low iron weeks in the part, thanks to midnight sun's assurance that these are perfectly normal situations, but also because I knew even if I did everything partly, things could still go wrong. Oddly, I found that more comforting than frightening. I couldn't control everything. That felt like a little overdramatic, though true. Better way to phrase this. Yeah, I mean, you could take a few different tacks with that. Like one would be, kind of almost having some like morbid levity of like, I could still get struck by lightning or hit by a bus, something more.
Maybe it could come out with two heads.
Yeah, or a tail.
Doubtful.
Or a tail.
We all have tails. They go away.
I don't have a tail. I'm not a cat. As much as you wish I was.
You're basically a cat.
I'm not Nymeria.
You're basically a cat.
Okay. Okay, so I want to see this build. So right now, this paragraph feels at the same intensity level, and I might start using that a lot because that's how you think about building drama. And this is like more advanced stuff, so like obviously, I think this is really solid. So if you just want to like publish it as it is or make a few tweaks, that's totally okay. I think it's totally fine. But if you say, hey, maybe I want to, really challenge myself and see if I can push this to something that's even more complex or maybe advanced, I guess. And I think it is very complex and advanced. I don't know if I'm phrasing this right, but if you just want to say, hey, like, let me see if I can really just fine tune it, which a perfectionist might have that temptation. A way to do that would be to make sure that the drama is building paragraph by paragraph, especially in an essay. So what happens is we're getting kind of the same beat without any cues to change. So we're saying, oh, like I had to go, it was this horrible stomach worrying, the stomach thing. But I kind of need to have at the front of this paragraph, and you kind of hint at sometimes I worried, whatever. But I need to get something about now you're worrying about your baby's health. I need to have that early in the, food inconveniences aside, there was more at stake than an upset stomach. So whatever, that's like a super melodramatic and very on the nose way of saying it, but like that's kind of the segue we need, which is to say, hey, these were just me worries. Now I need to worry about the baby. And that's kind of what this paragraph's about. But right now it feels like a little bit still about your own approach. It's very hard to put down. Like I don't really know even how I would rewrite it, but I would at least start with like the topic sentences or like the early sentences of your paragraph. Are you getting that read as well, Fox, or am I just tripping out?
Say it again.
That these paragraphs aren't really building in terms of tension or stakes. Like there's nothing riskier happening. It's just more.
I feel like, they'll have like a moment of increasing intensity, but then it's like, oh, and then I just take walks and eat fruits and vegetables. like that whole paragraph ended with like just talking about something different.
Yeah. I wonder if you could let, and this is depending on what comes later, because I remember later it was this very like off-on type situation where, you know, you'd be really worried about something and then you'd be fine. And then you'd be really worried about something and then you'd be fine. You'd be really worried about, so that kind of like
I would
bumping
almost
tension.
get rid of the last sentence there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like one thing is it's okay to let tension and worries last a few paragraphs unresolved. All of fiction and all of writing is unresolved tension.
Scroll down.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing something.
No, yeah, I'm just kind of.
Yeah, because then it's comfort, and then.
Now this sounds like it's the. This is the kind of transition point. Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, but there may be another like sweep to bad, right? Because I was like, sorry. A few weeks I got coffee, and she described the first parental purgatory. Imagine the inner 12 weeks would be transformed. Each morning I woke up, resolved to remain cheerful. So we're kind of back to problems. Maybe not, but it's like a different style. But again, it's sort of. And then this is just so awful. Then we're back to like so it's switching a lot because then we're back to like uncomfortable. You know, so that because it goes from like uncomfortable with coffee, but with a consolation of some caffeine. Uncomfortable with food, but with a consolation of, you know, it just sucks.
Has been helping. Whatever.
Yeah, and then we go worried about my baby's health, let go and feel better. And then we're like... Comfort. Each morning I woke up to remain cheerful and complaining. You know, dedicated happiness.
But then it gets... bad again.
Yeah, but then it gets bad again. And then coming to grips with personal discomfort, which seems like lower stakes than this. Like the highest stakes thing in here seems that your fears about your baby's health and your lack of control. Like you...
I disagree.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that was more just of an example of just all the different things that get thrown at you, where they're like, "Oh, your mind." Like, really, it's not that big of like. It's like if you're consistently anemic, it slightly increases, but like not getting enough iron for a week isn't gonna.
Am I anemic because I'm pale?
You're not pale. I'm pale.
Are you anemic?
No.
How do you know?
Because I eat a lot of meat.
No, man. Yeah. So that's again why you as the writer need to take a emotional hand in the story, especially in nonfiction, because what feels so unless you're guiding us, unless you're guiding Danielle, unless you're guiding me, I am going to gravitate in terms of my perception of the stakes into what I see as the highest stakes. And Danielle might gravitate towards, you know, your feelings of distress as the highest stakes. So that's why positioning, ordering your structure is really critical. So like, I would almost wonder, can you back this up? Are there certain things that need to be told in order? You know, this is your realization. This is reflections on a first trimester. This isn't the play-by-play of the first trimester. Like, give me the reflections. Give me a journey that's smooth. You don't have to. I feel like,
because I think in reality it probably does go up and down, where you like have good days and then really bad days, and then you'll have a good morning, everything will be okay, and then you'll be like screaming at nobody. And that's like, yeah. I think that's what he's trying to say. That we don't have, it can still be like...
Yeah, I'll put that in my overall notes.
Yeah.
Let the bad and good, ups and downs reflect life, but are less effective in creating drama. We need a build of unresolved tension. We can hear about events out of order. Remember, this is reflections of the first trimester.
I think it would be good to
Not
like
the
keep
play.
everything together too.
My play.
Because I know you like the food stuff comes up multiple times.
Grouping the ideas together. Based off of concepts, not chronology. Yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge with one of the huge challenges of nonfiction.
It's tough.
Is it happened this way, but again, it's sort of that same thing. But that way is not going to be a story, or it's not going to be interesting. So then how much license does the writer have to break chronology? Everything's true, but she's breaking chronology. Or how much license does the writer have to, use more colorful language to build, so that's where your language becomes really important, because it will signal to the reader, what should I care about? That's why, these silly, comments that seem, like, what is the emotion here? Because the reader is guided off of your emotion. So, like, how did you feel? Like, were you kind of bummed? Like, we get the coffee. Like, we're getting you're bummed about the coffee. We don't really know whether you care. That's just a factual reporting here. We don't really know if you care that much about missing paleo and you kind of hint at it in that one that we cut. Like, oh, it was inconvenient. Ugh. But, like, that emotion is my stakes. And that emotion needs to get more stressed and more stressed. And it needs to build up. And then another thing piles on top. And I can't have caffeine. And I can't eat real. And don't resolve it. And don't say, well, I kind of hugged, said, oh, man, that was a bummer, but I'm going to be okay. Don't resolve. Don't do that. Sorry, you can if you want. Sorry. Danielle's
No,
cool.
It's fine. I'm just, since it's a weeknight, maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Keep the volume down.
Sorry, but Sorry, but I get carried away.
It's after midnight, he's shouting.
Yeah, it's like...
I know you just carry your voice, but yes.
Yes, but without shouting. Try it out. I would say the goal, especially in your early writing, is to, especially if you want to really develop and push yourself as a writer, if you just say, hey, I want to get my ideas out there, that's fine. But one really thing to think about as a writer that's like early in their career or in their development or whatever, or just like pick, because like this is like your third or fourth thing you worked on, is to really try to just push yourself in ways that you don't expect. So like try writing it, and then if you don't want, try writing it outside of chronology based on conceptual alignment, and try to build those concepts without resolving them over time.
I feel like we talked about. I feel like not much has changed from the
no,
first
it really
draft.
hasn't.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I'm being more yelly.
Okay, this is your work.
Yeah, but you obviously you do what you want, and
you probably
I totally
don't. Yeah, you probably maybe you're still feeling gross.
Yeah, and
no worries at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So like again, this is from a very abstract like perspective. Nothing like, because like obviously this is from how my goals for the work would be, like, because I'm very exacting, and my goal would be like, I need to make this the most OCD pristine perfect thing, whatever, and like that fits those categories. But sometimes factual reporting is okay, because that does relate to some people, and I think it's okay. I'm thinking more along the lines of building the most drama you can, engrossing the reader in this world and making them, because when you give me the emotion, when you make me feel what you're feeling and feel that rising tension myself, the reader, then when your revelation comes and when that message, your theme comes through, then I will be much more likely to feel it like it's my own. And then I will be much more likely to embody what you're trying to tell me in your theme, and it might actually change the way I do life. So that's kind of why I probably a little bit overtly push towards this dramatic structure that will bring me through an emotional journey, as opposed to a factual reporting of kind of events.
Also, just reading ahead, I feel like this paragraph here could almost go at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when you first find out you're pregnant, even if that's not factually accurate. Just because it sets the stage of you thinking, that it's going to be this like wonderful experience. You're going to cultivate virtue and you're going to come out just transformed and you're super optimistic. And then you get hit with all these things. Like right now, you kind of throw it in halfway through / near the end. And I think it takes away from what it could be if you had it early and giving us your expectations of what it's going to be like before these, and even if it's not like chronically accurate, even if it like came later, I think for this story it would be better there.
I think that's a great observation, and I think Fox is also hitting on the head where it's like, hey, like, how does, and I would ask this of every paragraph, and like, sit down and say, does this paragraph underline my theme? And it kind of does, right? And I think this one I like, because you're talking about, hey, I like the idea that this discomfort wasn't wasted. I could cultivate virtue, and I was like, having this optimistic thing. You kind of imply that up here, where you're like, I'd still be a mom, like you're having this.
But not really.
Not really, yeah.
You don't really talk about your expectations for it, like besides the fact that you're excited, which obviously is important. But
that's good,
I do think it would be good to. If you could, I know that'd be tricky with all the like, because I know you're like Googling things right away, which kind of leads into the rest of it. But I think you can still convey that without chronologically having that as something you did right away.
And you can even say like on the top, like caveats, all this happened, but not in the order I'm saying. If that's something that you're saying, hey, I really want to be honest with the reader, that can, be a thing. Caveat,
You can be like, oh, I found out I was pregnant. And then, even if you actually like Googled stuff right away, you could be like, I met up with a friend soon after that, and she talked about, the fact that all the, that paragraph. And then you can be like, so I was so excited to start my first trimester and like see what wonderful trials were to come. And then you can be like, then I realized I couldn't have caffeine.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Or something like that, And then you could go into what was next. And then I Googled, what else do I need to avoid? And then you've already set us up, even if it didn't happen that way, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and you're setting us up on an emotional journey, which is like, I have this high hope, and it was dashed. And then it gets dashed more. And then it gets dashed more.
Yeah, because
then it gets dashed more,
it makes it sound like, because this... At first, when you first start this paragraph right now, it sounds like you're coming to like a new realization of like peace, but really, it's setting you up for more. You're like, oh, I was overly optimistic, is what you're saying, right? So you're setting it up for basically everything you've already been saying. So just thought.
Yeah, I found other surprising comforts. Start taking walks. Yeah, we kind of had this again. Same as last time. I would wonder. So this, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna bet that between the last draft and this one,
she didn't retype it.
She didn't rewrite it. I'm gonna bet that, or that it wasn't. You didn't break it out to an outline. You may have written it like side by side, but I would really, really, really encourage you to take every paragraph, convert it into a bullet point or whatever, cut them out and organize them in the way that's most effective for you. Make every paragraph a bullet, and I'll write that on the bottom because I think that's kind of my note where the absence, I mean, there's probably like a few things. I think one is infusing emotion in. The second is the absence of kind of an organizational structure. And I think this is a great reporting of the play-by-play. I think this is really well told, and I think it still is really effective. So if you say, hey, Jeff, I'm a busy lady, maybe next time, that's totally okay.
So I know you mentioned you wanted to just publish it, and sorry we were kind of late, but...
Yeah. So that's totally okay. But maybe even after you publish it, I would really encourage you just to still try to do that. Practice your writing as a craft. Like, it's sort of like I make little macrame things just to practice certain concepts. So maybe just treat and publish it like it is. It's fantastic. but then just treat the revision as a writing exercise, a way to just push yourself and to push your craft. And I promise you won't be disappointed. That would be my one encouragement. Just say, hey, I'll publish it, no more pressure. And then, next time we hang out, if you do that, I will definitely read it over and you will have at least an audience of 2.
It's true.
But yeah, just push yourself on that exercise level. An unconscious demand, I got rid of this feeling. Okay, each morning I woke up with the resolve, remain cheerful and uncompromising, getting the work day in no matter what. I had told my coworkers I was pregnant, so I had no excuse to be straight off. I hadn't told but by the time my husband got home, resolved went out the window and dissolved into a puddle of self-pity.
I don't know anything about that. See, that's a metaphor. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah. She didn't actually dissolve into a puddle. Yeah, it's a great metaphor. Good call. I wailed at the smell of garlic. I had forbidden cooking meat, but made grudging allowance for vegetables. I demanded my latest craving from Trader Joe's, and how dare he hesitate to go for the 3rd time today immediately.
How dare he?
It's so funny because reading this, it helps me understand some of the other shopping behavior of some people in my life.
Not me, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No, but
I was I think I'm pretty chill.
Well, there's a couple we know that will go to that used to go to Whole Foods constantly. And I wonder if it was established during this phase of pregnancy, and then it just became a habit after that. But the repetitive Whole Foods indulgence was.
Well, I think having an outing was probably good when you have.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Random thought. And how dare he hesitate and resolutely ignore my colony of dirty dishes that sprung up around me, byproducts of my hourly trial and error snacking. I like this. This feels really great. It's a little late. I love these concrete examples. It feels a little late in the story for this emotional beat. And particularly bad moments. So I'm gonna write down my other notes, which is just do bullet point drive to emotions. And I'll expand on that. I can smell it when someone has a re-outline. I can smell it. Sniff them out.
It's true. Like a bloodhound for it.
The one day, okay, so I need to explain out loud. Often to turn. This is just so awful with exclamation and unconscious demand. I must get rid of this feeling. For the most part, there's nothing I could do other than wait for the feeling to pass. The one day I realized feeling good was not a necessity. I could handle discomfort, and I didn't have to let it torture my mind as well as my body. This realization changed the experience from being roughly dragged to that of hiking up a steep but not insurmountable incline. Afterwards, I like it. I think this is a good turn in your story. I'd wonder more at the feelings you're having here. How does this change your state of mind at the point of realization? This is what happens after. And you give us a state of mind after, but I want a little bit of just I let my breath out. I realize, what does that realization feel like? Because I know when sometimes I figure out ways to kind of think through my OCD or whatever that looks like. You're kind of I don't need to think about it like that. And it's just kind of this kind of rush of relief. Sometimes.
You can call back to the red balloon if you want.
Yeah.
My deflated red balloon.
Puffed up again.
Yeah, began to get a little life in it.
Yeah, and it's kicking. My red balloon. Baby's black balloon. All right. Afterwards, I still something let the feeling drag. I sometimes feel, and afterwards I sometimes felt, and let that feeling. Oh, okay. So again, we're stepping the image down. So again, this is again, we need to manage our callbacks to images a little bit. And she's going to be a singer one day soon. But whenever I pick myself up, I surmise I think I have the advantage of working from home, flexibility, and chicken tending.
I don't even think you need that.
No, this is all.
Just be honest. You don't need to qualify what you're saying. Just say.
I don't even know if you need this whole paragraph, right? Because by the end of the 12th week, I didn't go on a dramatic transformation. Because we already just went through the transformation. Like, yes, I still have bad days. Maybe this is like kind of like the yes, I'm not perfect paragraph. This is like the, no, block, exit.
It's a great song.
I know. For some reason, like it's sort of like if there's so many things going on, it just kind of like tweaks me out. It's like there's someone singing over here, we're editing over here. What? You sound great while you're singing. It's just
do work while you're chatting on stream.
I know. That's something that I can do less of. If you need.
Talk about this later.
Dun, dun, dun.
Carry on.
Oh man, now I feel bad.
No, you're fine.
Maybe the camera will flicker off and flicker on, and I'll be like a horror movie, like hanging from the back of the room from hooks. Right, we'll let Foxy sleep. All right. By the end of the 12th week, I hadn't gotten transformation. I've been learning bonus. Yeah, I think you could do like I hadn't been perfect, but that's enough,
Mm-hmm.
Or I wonder, dude. I just wonder this whole part, this whole thing. I like the feeling good was not a necessity. Maybe that can get worked into this paragraph.
Yeah. And I realized
I just had to be satisfied with that. Yeah, and then you can pop that down. My final trimester appointment feeling worn out, but relieved. I lay on the riskiest, most unpleasant stage of pregnancy behind me, and there. Previously, the we thought. Yeah, I would probably lean against that one, but you guys, that's a stylistic choice. A strange object pressing down on the walls of his or her home. Seeing those tiny feet, those tiny hands curling and releasing, I took the lid off the excitement and suppressants, positive pregnant. I dumped the doctors. They grinned, their rain plastered on my face all the next morning. Excitement kept me in bursts. All right, ready for Fox to start crying? In bursts, an impromptu jiggle waiting in the coffee to brew, off-key trails, tra-la-la, erupting from my throat as I opened the mail. Shamelessly proud text my parents of our baby's ultrasound silhouette, and I cradled my stomach in my hand. I pictured my little buddy nestled inside. The nausea, the fatigue, the fears, all faded from the forefront. I like that alliteration. I was overtaken by a single thought. You know what, kid? You're so worth it.
I'm okay.
Wow, jeez.
That's cool.
Man, how cynical do you? How jaded do you have to be for that to happen?
I'm gonna be tired.
Oh, Bob, poor little stink. How about I send you to bed? I'll write my. Do you have any overall notes you have? We can do the overall notes real quick, and then we'll send you to bed.
I think putting that that initial expectations paragraph earlier.
Yeah.
Would be big. And I like the cuts that you made. And just to be okay with not doing things chronologically, which I think you already said. I'll shoot her a text.
I was gonna email it back. Because I'll send it a video as well. What else did I have? Oh yeah. Even if you publish this challenge, I got a challenge. I'm gonna publish this now, and it's I got a challenge for you. Try. All right.
Cool. Well done.
All right, so I'm going to read next Delta 1 by boom.
Who's this?
This is I think it's Corgi Commander. Is that his name? Hold on. I think no. It was I think it was the person who gave us those amazing dice. Let me make sure I'm right. It was it was Corgi Commanders. Never mind.
Nice.
So we're reading Corgi Commander's
Corgi
novella.
Commander.
Fox is out, but I will read through this.
I wish you some major luck.
Before bed.
Major luck.
Major luck, Delta 1. All right, I'm going to switch the audio out real quick. One moment, be right back.
All right, I return, and we are lower in the queue than ever before. Thank you for your patience. And now it's game time. So Delta 1. Prologue, May 8th, 1985. I like that this is double spaced. Thank you. So many writers don't double space, and that's really painful. Send you something on FB. Dang. Apex Life. Jeez, what a beast. Impressive. Impressive, sir. Operation Hercules. Range 423 meters. Wind blowing east 8 miles west. Humidity low. Obstacles in sight over. No obstacles in sight over. So, I feel like a voice buzzed over the radio feels a little clunky. I would almost lean towards. I'm gonna put this back to where I normally have it. I would almost lean towards having air twice in one sentence. That's true. Where'd you see that? Is that further down? Air is frigid and crisp. Solar hanging. Oh, nice, good spot. We'll just cut that one out. That's an easy fix. But yeah, I feel like you either want to name it. You could say Joseph buzzed over the radio, or you could have something more along the lines of, the radio hissed. Something unless we're gonna identify who that voice is, feels off. The night, but overall good start. It's kind of an interesting setup. So yeah, this is great because it implies that there are goals and stakes. There's something going on, there's something happening, and somebody cares about it. So because there seems to be some military like operations, it's a really great start. I'm gonna grab a little snacky. People, I'll be right back. Yes, it's Velveeta Easy Mac. Best thing since sliced bread, people. The best of all the Easy Macs that I've discovered, and I've made an extensive search. Velveeta Easy Mac is the genesis of all that is good in this world, and it will be the last good thing left behind at the end of all things. Wow, that's good. might grab a water as well. Okay. A short rustle in the breeze, while sound of waves crashing against the shore echoed in the distance. A small road ran parallel to the beach across the coast, with its lights being the only other signs of civilization in the area. I feel like this is a little clunky. I don't really know how I would rephrase it. Like, this might need a... I had said a trio of massive white triangular skyscrapers that were the heart. So how is that the only other sign of civilization? The newly built luxury results. Is there a name? Remember, names are really important. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Round of adjectives, no commas. Coordinate adjective versus cumulative adjective. Now I feel like I'm bouncing off the walls with energy. That's great. Sometimes you gotta peak ketones. Towering dark green mountains sat in the backdrop, which stood out of the light of the moon. Their massive shadows. Yeah, I feel like some of the framing and the grammar probably could use a bit of attention. I'll add your notes here, 67. I'm probably gonna try because I know that I sometimes towering dark green mountains. Yeah. With the three sitting in a triangle. It's okay. So this might be a grammar note that I dig into a little bit more, and it looks like 667 is catching some stuff well. So read his comments; they should be on screen. But remember, short sentences are okay. You don't have to string everything together. It's sometimes can be really confusing. Not too bad, but like this one is where it's I think getting a little problematic. So currently they towered over the surrounding forest with three sitting in the middle in a triangle, with a three sitting in the middle of the triangle that was connected by enclosing bridges. So this one I would say we already know we're talking about the towers. They towered over the surrounding forest, period. The three branches of the, Bismarck Hotel sat in a triangle. Closed by three. That three connecting bridges enclosed on the first, 30th, and 50th floors. So that's an example of start with a short sentence and then make sure you need those commas and you need those grammatical structures. These structures are only a fraction of what envisioned as another trio. I think 67 is right. It was envisioned another trio of near identical buildings sat under construction. Remember, break up those sentences. It's okay. Actually, it's a good thing to have varied sentence structure. So it looks like 667 is catching a lot of grammatical stuff, and I'm gonna try to go read as much as I can so I can maybe comment on story and character questions. So I will try to go quickly. In the center of the three finished towers had a large elevated white structure that had many similarities to the towers which are in our. I think we could assume that it has many similarities to the towers. And that's why names become really important. You know, it could be, in the center of the three finished towers had a large elevated white structure, comma, the Bismarck Grand Ballroom. It had a dining staff, I would say it had a dining staff that and tables for 10,000, it boasted is easier, better verb. Like ready to serve 10,000 of the wealthiest patrons on this side of the equator. And it had a breathtaking view of the ocean. So you can kind of use that as like almost like a I was describing a main character right away in a few sentences or a paragraph. Okay, let me side question. Is describing a main character right away in a few sentences or a paragraph when introducing them just a style thing, or is it pretty much a no-no? I think it's okay to pause, describe the main character, and then move on. I think that's actually a very yes. There are stylistic reasons not to. Like everything, there's always a reason for and against, But I usually think it's, obviously you don't want to get into really dumb stuff, but like stuff that's not so helpful, like eye color. Only mention stuff that's going to matter. Or like, if they're a roguish, so like a lot of times appearance matches the internal of the character. So your goal in describing that character and pausing and saying, this is what the character looks like, is to give us an impression of who they are early by their appearance and their clothes or their facial, if they have like a big scar, maybe that indicates a fraught past. That's really the goal of and to give the reader something of an image, but I wouldn't focus too much on that. Everyone is saying don't do it, but I like it. Well then, I don't know. It depends. It depends, really. Like if it's a lot of useless information, then yeah, it's useless information. You shouldn't have useless information anywhere in your story. But if it's something that will give me a quick visual understanding of who that character is before I start seeing them do things, then I don't see a problem with it. Yeah. I don't know. The knowledge of writing that I see in Facebook groups is generally not fully developed sometimes. I normally don't agree with what I see in Facebook groups. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah. But maybe that's just me. Okay, but I do have a challenge here. So, this feels like a story written by someone who's watched a lot of movies. Because we get like the, like the radio range 423 meters. Blah 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 blah. You know, we have this kind of like moment of like the people doing something nefarious, and then it cuts to like the big, and you have kind of this longer description of like the big complex they're looking over. In fiction, you can sometimes do the inverse. You could have the big complex start it and say, hey, the Beaumont Hotel was the blah 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 blah, and yada yada yada. The Beaumont Hotel was very very fancy, and you could have that stuff happen in between or toward the end. I don't think it's a huge deal, but that's just some sort of heads up where this initial section, yeah, but then we have the radio squawking. Is this supposed to have 2 spaces? Yeah. Okay. And I think especially since the conversation picks up right here, I would just move this conversation down here and move this one down here. Maybe. That's something to test. Yeah. It's starting. The voice squawked over there. The sight of black suited guards confirmed that statement. Okay. So I would say, remember, you don't have to. This is all about ordering. I feel like ordering is a challenge or something to think about here. Is like you just say black. Oh my gosh, why is it doing this deletion thing? Black suited. Yeah, it's like whenever you have that reflexive confirmed that statement or it's referencing back, and this is a big, and I'm going to get to your comment in a second, 67. This is a big concept in writing. You want the cause and effect order to be really clear. Push for a cause and effect / action and reaction order. Don't put a reaction, the radio call, over the cause, or after, before the cause, the black suited people. And this will help your writing. So remember, cause and effect, just like real life, so in writing. Sometimes there are ways to invert that that can be beneficial, but I would really strongly discourage it because it can be very risky. Oh, dang it. I'm doing my personal one, but that's fine. You guys will know who I am. Did I do it on this one too? Damn. Oh well. I'm exposed. Y'all know my name now. Anyways. Sizzling duck's egg floating in the sky. Yes, that's what it looked like to Matron Ella. The sun was a yolk, vivid orange, surrounded by hazy whites. Alright, so is this an example? Okay, a sizzling duck's egg floating in the sky. Yes, that's what it looked like tomorrow. The sun was a yolk, yellow, vivid, and orange, surrounded by hazy whites. The clouds, delicious. She licked her lips and set back the jockey box in her wagon. Trot, clack, trot. Her horse's hoofs struck the hardened ground of Jadar. I mean, there's some other issues, I feel like, here. She had journeyed for longer than she could remember, but she was quite sure the sound was something new. Clock, track, clock. It sounded much like the patter of rain, but only in the fall. Yes, the rain, the fall rain, and a freshly cooked egg. How wonderful. Clock, track, clock. Lena drove a modest wagon of cedar wood, crafted from the best-smelling trees she could find back home. Her robe, white as an albino rabbit, shielded her dark skin from the heat of the frying egg's light. Her skin crinkled with folds each time she adjusted the reins she held on to. What lovely eyes there were. I think the unnecessary thing is, unless they're really important, are her eyes. Like, I feel like the problem with that particular, I feel like the problem with that particular excerpt is the management of interiority and the flow. I feel like that excerpt that you shared has some problems with how it's flowing, how it's coming together, how the thoughts are getting represented, and like it seems to kind of be like oddly worded. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, and maybe if I looked at it really hard, I would. Or like, because we have this weird the sizzling duck's egg floating in the sky. Yes, that's what it looked like to Matron Lena. The sun was the yolk. So this is the narrator talking. Yes. The sun was the yolk, vivid orange and surrounded by hazy whites. So like, yeah, is it the universal narrator or is it Elena? Is she aware that she's described delicious? She licked her lips and sat back. I think that should be sat back on the jockey box of her wagon. The horse cloves struck the hardened ground of Jadar. Do we need to know? So again, like the one of the challenges I think is her horse hoof struck the hardened ground of Jadar. Do we need to know that the ground belongs to Jadar? That seems like a probably. I would wonder if we could introduce the different planet and the name of the planet through a different method. Because if this is this in first person? She had journeyed. No, this is in third person. Okay, so then the narrator is talking. She had journeyed longer than she can remember, but not. I was quite sure this sound was something. Sounded much like the patter of rain, but only in the fall. Yes, the fall rain and a freshly cooked egg. How wonderful! Elena drove a modest wagon of cedar wood, crafted from the blessed-smelling trees she could find back home. Her road, what is it now? But I think the description is fine, though. The only thing I would cut is her bright green eyes, unless that's really important. Or yeah, because like we need like her skin cream with fold each time she adjusted the reins. Well, yeah, I think the adjusted the reins she held onto is probably extra because we already know that she's holding the reins if she's adjusting them. Yeah, I mean, I think it just more needs just a general. I think yeah. So first off, I think introducing some of her physical attributes is totally fine. I think that's very well placed. I think kind of it just looks like this might just need a general once over in terms of just flow and structure, but that's pretty common in early drafts. I mean, if this is from your draft and if it's a first draft, like you would kind of expect that. But yeah, in terms of the placement of the description, I don't see a problem with it. I would want to get to the conflict soon, or have a hint. I mean, I'm always of the mind, and I'm a crazy person for. I at least need a suggestion that there's conflict. Yeah, I was just wondering about doing a character like that. Yeah. There you go. Then I think it's fine. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, totally acceptable, in my opinion. But yeah. Velveeta, Easy Mac, guys and gals. That's the path to joy and ecstasy in life. Who needs anything else? All right. 10 days we're gathering, a couple hundred strong, at least incorporating scores of any prominent. So again, this feels like oddly ordered, this sentence, and I think the next line's all tied together. Okay, cool. Well, I trust you. It sounds like you were just trying to test out that particular structure, which I think is completely fine. personally. Because it's just like, okay, let's pause for a second, introduce us. You know, it could be ill, she said. It's the cheerful matron. An older mother. She's long though. Each drove them right. You're right. I'm hungry, my love, said Lena. I could swallow the sun right now with a bit of gristle if I had a big enough fork and knife. Sounds cool. I like her. I like the style of her thought, and I like the style of her dialogue a lot. I think it's a really great style. Her kind of hyper imaginative, sort of decadent feel. Finally, got this open. All right. So again, you really want to think about your subject-verb ordering. Okay, so I'm gonna start writing some general things to remember. Give it grammar pass. I'll do general notes here. Do a quick grammar pass. Might help smooth things out. Yeah, always read it out loud as well. It's a really helpful tool. So this is an example of the subject verb. Attendees at the gathering were a couple of hundred strong at least, incorporating scores. That's a silly example, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Target located, 10 o'clock, black dress on the right side of the stage. I really want... I feel like not having names is starting to make the radio conversation very confusing. Yeah, no worries, man. Glad I could help. Yeah, I think that maybe that Facebook group might be wrong. I would look at whoever told you not to do that and look at their credentials. Yeah, but I mean, you can also establish them there. I think that's just the only thing that's like unnecessary. It's just like what's necessary, and especially when there's not action happening. How do we get to the action as fast as possible? But I mean, it sounds like it comes in the next paragraph, which is awesome. Arcade located at 10 o'clock. But just the same person added again. So if you don't want these characters to be named, which I totally understand, you might want to give them pseudonyms like Alpha asked again over the phone. Solid copy, I have visual confirmed. Beta, the sniper. Voice tightened the band that held her blonde hair into a neat bun. So, again, Whiskey Tango. Yeah, whatever. Bravo. Again, so this is not the ideal verb for this sentence. Yeah, so just use unfolded. So instead of proceeded to, yeah, exactly. And I think your goal is to get the subject. So I think especially in this, it's kind of like I get the sense you're kind of you're working to kind of say, okay, how do we make paragraphs and sentence structure really, really pop? That might be an opportunity to investigate in your work. And those are the ways that I've found that are really helpful for me to do it. Zooming into the sentence structure, zooming into paragraph structure after that. And sentence structure, you're usually asking, what's the subject-verb combo? Paragraph structure, usually asking, what's the cause and effect? And I think if you start really developing those two things, then you can start worrying, okay, how do we make this scene really pop? How do we make this whole act really pop? And go from there. Quickly, she prepared you did okay. So she just grumbling. So yeah, we're spacing. We almost have a paragraph, a sentence, a paragraph for a really long time. I wonder if that's something that we can also, and that's like the next level, right? Which is sentence structure and then paragraph structure. Can we group these sentences into a paragraph? Or have more in each paragraph? Yeah. So paragraphs, short paragraphs, always accelerate the reading, right? Like, because obviously there's a lot more white space on the page. You're going from line to line to line. So we're having all these really pink, pink, pink short little paragraphs. Even the action lines are these little one sentence paragraphs. And then further down, we're having one sentence paragraphs, one sentence paragraphs. I don't think there's a paragraph here for the next page that is more than one sentence. No. Maybe this one? Nope. It's just a long sentence. No, the commanders. Is it the Corgi commander? Okay, so that's a really great thing to start thinking about, and this goes down to how to combine and separate ideas. So again, we got three things I think to think about in the next draft, which is really tightening the sentence structure on the base clause, branching out from there, making sure you have the right words in the base clause. The second thing is, really making sure that the logic of the sentences are ordered in cause and effect. And then the third thing is trying to group these things, these paragraphs together and sentences together based off ideas and flows of action versus just like punch, 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 punch. And even if it's extra, I would almost encourage you to write just a few more sentences on some of these paragraphs to vary the pacing a little bit, because it is getting kind of like breakneck in terms of its pacing for me. F, she grumbled. Yeah. All teams are green. Commence operation. Gravelly voice ordered. So again, this is when the dialogue tags can be kind of weird. When and this is something that you'll read in a lot of writing books where they say, don't ever use any dialogue tag besides said. And I think that's nonsense. That's poppycock. But this is an example of maybe what they're trying to help you avoid, which is using a dialogue tag to express what the dialogue is already expressed. So when she's like, F, we know that she's grumbling. We know that she's frustrated. So, maybe a way to rewrite this would be to, I'm going to bring it up to the paragraph above, first off. The cold bit at her. I discussed over the hammer the building. We don't need an extra adverb. It's kind of implied. So a lot of it's trusting the reader. Trust in your dialogue. I'll put the F there because, yeah. All teams. We are green. Commence operation. I am wondering why. Yeah, I would wonder why we're jumping a line here, an extra line. Maybe that's something we can look at, but yeah, I'm not sure why the reply has a skipped line between them. Copy that the woman confirmed through her earpiece. Yeah, again, we know that she's confirming. Copy that period. So again, just like guitar. I feel like that unprovoked, that's a line I've heard before. Lying prone, she's a rifle bipod. The woman's eyes were glued. We're switching tenses there. So we're in past. But they're plural, actually. It's not tense switch. That is the wrong numeric. The woman's eye. I guess I was wrong. I misread. The woman's eye was glued to her scope as more security guards came into sight, escorting her quarry onto the stage. Lone middle-aged woman. Yeah, so I think this is okay. See, a lone middle-aged woman in a simple but costly black dress walked into view. So we get some description. You kind of have to have some description. 667. Time to do a call for the sniper. Oops. This might be extra. I don't know if we need this. We need this extra bit. Because we kind of know she's focusing on it as a lady. Might be verbal doubling. I would just almost combine those paragraphs as well. Was curled. Maybe just curled around the trigger. And everything slowed to steady her aim. We don't need to a crawl. That's kind of just an overused phrase anyways. So that's an example. So I'm not going to go through and edit every sentence like that, but those are some examples that hopefully will help you work on that kind of sentence layer. Ah, dropping crunchy peas everywhere. It's bad. So an instant is not defined. So we don't have nearly an instant. So we know what an instant is. So why do we, we can't really define what an instant is. So what is nearly an instant? It's even harder to define. So I'll just say close the gap in an instant. HVT is down. This feels like Spy Party. So then repair small charges. So I don't know what's been blown up yet. Yeah, why bother with the sniper if they were going to blow up the building anyways, is what I would be asking. Okay, I'm on page 6. Let me get to page 7 here. This is reading pretty fast. And I may have to go to bed. It's already 1:30. Yeah, decimated is always a funny word, and it'll set a lot of readers off, so I always caution against it. Because there's many a grammar stickler like myself who'll be like, wait, it doesn't mean that. Meow, 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 meow. Everybody hates those guys, like me. It doesn't seem like it was luck. Yeah, so remember, the narrator does not need to be super present in every sentence. I would really go through, and this is an exercise I beat people over the head with. Pick your favorite book, highlight the action lines, one color, highlight the dialogue, another color, highlight the the narrator intrusion, another color, highlight the internal thoughts, a different color. Get all those colors and see how those writers are proportioning action versus dialogue versus interiority, because we are really missing a lot of interiority. There's not much thought getting reported. This is all almost like reading a screenplay. This is identical to reading a screenplay in some ways. We're not getting any thoughts. We haven't, I don't think, the closest we've got was represented, in dialogue by the girl cursing at the weather because it was cold. So I think these are the types of things that would really be pushing yourself on. And also we need to get to a point where we care. I think one thing I'm asking, while this, intense, we need more context regarding the importance of the person being shot or the consequences. Otherwise, in movies, they'll always say that person is in the middle of peace talks with the Russians, whatever it is. So remember, always try to give us a reason to care about what's going on. So you've had a lot of action, but we need to step even before. It's okay. I mean, you're in third person, so the narrator can come in and say, that lady with the black dress, she was the master delegate of the delegation of peace, and she's about to make world peace happen. It's real bad that they're about to shoot this lady. Okay, so stuff like that. And that's a very silly example, but that's what you're looking to accomplish. I also, I do want to, and I'll put this up in my top notes. Yeah. So yeah, again, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it because it's getting late. But the big things is do a quick grammar pass. A lot of the grammar I feel like needs an extra look, or maybe go check that out. So I mean, my notes kind of scale two areas. The micro, which is that kind of level one of writing, I think, which is everybody still works on level one, so it's not like some sort of video game where once you're done, but like it's the sentence level, that base of the base pillar maybe, or like the sentence level pillar maybe is the right way to phrase it, is we need the grammar a little bit tweaked. But that's not really that important. I think that the bigger concerns I saw in the language and paragraph level was action reaction. That's a really important concept. You want to make sure that you don't describe the reaction to something before the action has happened, and you don't want to recap and say, "Oh, that she cursed. It was really cold, and that's why she cursed." You don't want to do that. You want to say, "It was really cold. She cursed." That's how we operate. So then it's much easier for the reader to follow. In your grammar revision, one thing I would really encourage you to do is to think about the base clause of your sentence, the subject verb. Those are the two most important words in any sentence. It's the subject of the sentence and the verb in the sentence. So find the best word for each. I know that sounds really boring because writing sentence level stuff always feels really boring, but if you just do it for a revision and really lock into that, after that it'll become second nature and you won't have to think about it as much anymore. Yeah, and read it aloud. Read this aloud. You'll find a lot of those kind of funny grammatical things by reading aloud. Lastly is the more macro level. What's going on with the story that you should think about? In the story in general, I haven't gotten to know any characters yet. I don't really know the situation. I just know that there's been some sort of assassination attempt. So I don't know the stakes. I don't have anybody I care about. And I'll write this in. Also, I, am wanting a character that I can care about and follow. There are lots of characters, and we don't get into the mind or even the names of many, nor gravity of this. Yeah, so it's hard for me to care. I don't know what's at stake. I don't know why I should care that this lady just got plugged, just got shot. So I don't, she is a delegate. Was there something good? Make me, the reader, as sad as the people in the auditorium that this catastrophe happened to this particular person. Let me understand the fallout a little bit. And you don't need to do that through dialogue. That could come through the narrator. That can happen through the narrator's voice saying, the Beaumont Hotel was hosting the evening gala for the most famous ambassadors who will be suing for peace, for world peace, happiness. Or it could be through interior thought, where the lady loads the rifle. What? Wait! Oh, Corey Commander, you caught me at the very end. How's it going? But don't worry. You can reach out. Is this what I'm thinking it is? It is indeed. No effing way. Hey, man. I'm slow, but I get through the queue in time. Flips desk. No! Well, I will record the video, watch the video, the edit, and then I will answer questions you have on Discord or somewhere else, or email. But I'm still talking, so we can still go. I'll go over I'll recap kind of my big notes while you're here. I'll recap them real quick. So first off, grammar, just some basic sentence structure. I would just read aloud. I'm going to actually put this note up here because that's the most important. The second thing is to ensure that cause and effect is tightly managed in the sentences. And what that means is, I think at some point you described, they said, "Oh, it's ready." Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. This was your initial draft. It's starting, a voice squawked over the radio quietly. The sight of the black-suited guards confirmed this statement as a group entered the far side of the room. So that's really, you're kind of describing what that sniper observed after them saying, hey, look, something's happening. So you want to try to do the inverse and to have the cause first. Just like in life, it'll be much easier for your reader to grok. Black-suited guards entered the far side of the Bismarck Auditorium, and I named the auditorium because we need some names. It's starting, a voice squawked over the radio quietly. So, a little bit clearer, and that helps us kind of go along and understand what's happening in the scene. The focus on your base clauses of your sentences, that's your subject, verb, base. Sometimes the base clause will be buried, or the verb will be kind of pushed further back. So keep an eye out for that. And when you watch the video, that'll make sense. This one's a more important note, which is right now this reads a lot like a film script, and it's because a lot of us right today are influenced by film and television. So what writers of today have to be hyper aware of is that we are going to skew towards action and dialogue, because that's what film is. Action and dialogue. But in writing, you have a lot more tools at your disposal, and you need to be using them, which is you're in third person. You can have the narrator come in and explain some of what's going on. He doesn't necessarily have to have a voice, but it could be like saying, hey, look, this is, this is why the gala is important. This is who all these people are. They're part of a terrorist group or whatever it is. Or you could express some of that stuff through the character's thoughts. So remember, you can zoom into the character's thoughts, ideally through a viewpoint character. And unfortunately, we don't have a viewpoint character super clear right now who our main protagonist is. We're kind of a floating camera. So it does feel very much like a film, where we have kind of a floating camera, but we don't have a character yet that we can zoom fully into and inhabit, hear their thoughts, hear their voice, at least in these first pages. So I think that is something that, even if it's a temporary viewpoint character, consider who's the point of view character in this section. Who's going to be the one person whose point of view we get? That might be an option to explore. Lastly, I think, is kind of getting into the question of stakes and kind of that connection with a single character, because we have a lot of characters, but I don't know as a reader who I should care about or who I should root for. Are the assassins the good guys? Are the people I should care about? Are the police that are about to clean this mess up the people I should follow and care about? So those are kind of the things that I think on the character level you really want to start thinking about is, okay, how do I start signaling to the reader through who I'm giving the point of view to that this character is the most important, this is the one we're following. So remember, point of view is a really powerful tool that novelists have that film and television people don't. It's fantastic. So use it. It's so effective. Yes, and then finally, it's the situational stakes. Why should I care about this lady getting assassinated? I think we need a little bit, or at least a hint of that before the assassination transpires. Maybe it's suggesting that peace talks are underway and this person is pivotal to world peace, or whatever it is. I think we need some anchoring just to slow down. We don't need to get to the action immediately, and you have great action. The momentum of the story is really moving. You have great action in your story. I think the last thing I want to talk about is paragraphy, which I think is more here. Beware the one sentence paragraphs and look for ways to expand, to combine paragraphs together if they are in a cracks knuckles. I'm loving the feedback. I'm glad, Corky Commander. I'm glad it's helpful, and we go into a lot more depth in the video. So hopefully that will be helpful to you. I think you did a fantastic job. I think this is really, you have the action, you have the conflict, but I think you just need to zoom in, give us a point of view, slow down. I think trust your reader, trust that they're going to stay with you for a little bit. And then start to develop a little bit more of the world. Focus in on a person, a single person, and their thoughts. Maybe that sniper lady seemed to be important. Think about giving them a name or at least an alias, and then maybe we can, maybe she's, Alpha Bravo, and we say, okay, Alpha Bravo's, we're in her point of view. Just food for thought. I think you have a really great start here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with next, and I hope the video is really helpful to you in your revisions. I'm sorry you came at the very end. I did send you a message on Discord, so I don't feel too guilty, but yeah, I'm sorry you came at the very end, but hopefully the video should be a really great resource, and I'll post that in the Discord as well for y'all's reference. So don't worry. All my notes, all that stuff will be in the Discord. And yeah, thank you again so much for sharing your work. I know it's always super freaky to share your work, and to Chrissy, the previous writer, who also did a fantastic job on their story. Coming back from a long day after having surgery. This made my day, even if I cut just the end. Oh my goodness. Well, surgery is no fun. And oh, you too, buddy. Well, I hope you feel better. I've had many a shoulder surgery, and I've had two shoulder surgeries, a bunch of broken stuff in my back, and I understand how agonizing that can be. But yeah, I mean, I think the overall impetus is this is a really solid start, but just to slow down, flesh it out. Remember, and read it aloud. I think the grammar I'm less concerned about. I think that's part of just developing is just getting used to writing enough that you kind of develop that pacing and that feel for paragraphs and sentence structure, though those are important. So that's why I brought them up as notes. But I think to really think about pushing yourself to have a single point of view character, someone whose thoughts we will have access to, and who will give us the reason. Okay, why is this important? Why is that important? What does all the action symbolize? What's the stakes? What are the stakes? What's gonna go bad if this assassination is successful? What's gonna go well if this assassination is successful? Who has what to gain? I think a little bit of time fleshing that out would do a lot of good. So overall, though, I think you have a really, really great and fun start, and I think this is a cool story. So I'm looking forward to reading more, and yeah, I hope all my notes helped. I really tried to give it a good look tonight. Yeah, I was doing my little vape so I could keep my alertness going. But anyways, I hope you have a speedy recovery. I'm sorry to catch you on your surgery day. If I had known, I would have done it on a different day. But I hope this is helpful. You'll have the video and all the written feedback in the Google Doc. So my best wishes on your recovery, and have a great night, and wish you the very, very best. Take care, and looking forward to it. I'm gonna hold you accountable to get me that second draft, because I'm really enjoying the direction this is heading, and I think with a few of these kind of structural shifts, these kind of different ways of thinking, you might see some really awesome benefits. So yeah, I'm excited to see what you come up with, how you develop the work further, because I think it's worth developing, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next draft, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on my inbox for it. So take care, Corgi. Have a speedy recovery, and take care, and get well.